A ver si vuelvo a ver. Así que muchas gracias a ustedes por esta información.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Thank you for tuning in to PhillyCAM Voices. I'm your host, Amanda Johnson. In this episode, we are following up on a few stories from 2019. Last spring, we told you how hundreds of people signed up for Philadelphia's new municipal photo ID card. The cards are for people who do not have other forms of identification, such as driver's licenses. Reporter Dennis Link has an update, but first, here's the original story.
This spring, the city of Philadelphia launched its municipal ID program. It's intended to provide a form of identification for city residents who can't readily obtain state-issued IDs due to immigration status, financial situation, or other circumstances. A municipal ID will enable entry to city buildings, access to social services, and making application for opportunities such as housing and jobs. Known as PHL City ID, the program operates from room 167 in City Hall, but also plans mobile sites to reach citizens within their communities. Anyone over 13 can apply, by appointment or by designated walk-in days. Each card will show the cardholder's name, address, date of birth, and self-described gender. It'll feature a unique ID number along with issue and expiration date. The cost is $5 for those 13 to 17 years old, $10 for those 18 to 64, and free to those 65 or older. PhillyCAM Voices spoke to the director of the program, Amy Eusebio, who outlined the process and the documents required for submission.
The way the program works is it's a 4-point system to apply. You need to provide 3 points worth of identity, 1 point proof of address. But you need to prove identity and residence. You need to apply in person. We take a photo, we take a signature, and then we collect payment. So the other incentive of this program is that it's a low-cost option for a government ID.
Many citizens are concerned about the privacy of the documents they provided. Ms. Eusebio spoke to that concern.
What we've committed to is turning off the feature that saves information when we scan. So when we scan a document, it does not save any information about it. It just verifies that it's authentic, whether or not it's expired. And then once we issue the ID to somebody, at the moment, as soon as it prints, we hand it over to them. We ask folks to review it to make sure the information is accurate based on what they wanted on it. Because at the moment when they tell me yes, I hit the yes on the system and it automatically deletes a lot of information.
Because of the low barrier cost to receive an ID, will the project be sustainable in the long run?
We feel pretty confident about our budget and the sustainability of the program based on that. And then the fees, though, doesn't cover the full expense of the program, offsets the cost to be able to replace things like cards.
So far, the program has issued over 1,000 IDs, with a goal to reach 10,000 in the first year. Maria Serna, a community and immigrant activist, is happy with her ID and working to spread the word in her community.
I told everybody, and I showed the ID. I explained how this works and how you can support the municipal ID.
For PhillyCAM Voices, this is Dennis Link.
Dennis Link joins us now in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you, Amanda. It's great to be here.
So first, I'd like to say great coverage.
Thanks.
So give us an update. How are the IDs going now?
Things are going very well, and as a matter of fact, I believe that the program is surpassing expectations. So the numbers that I have, I'm going to read off of here because they're hot off the presses as of this afternoon. I wanted to make sure we had the very latest numbers. So the program launched officially on April 4th of 2019. So in that period of time, the municipal ID program has issued 12,710 IDs. So over a 10-month period, roughly, that's about 1,400 IDs per month. So that's pretty impressive. One of the things that's been reported to me by folks with the municipal ID program is the fact that originally they were hoping to get people their IDs that same day. But because of the volume, it's actually become difficult to perform that in the same day. Now, they recommend that you make appointments, so that way they can sort of judge, how many people are going to come at a particular day and around a particular time, and they can make it easier for you to get in and out. The process isn't that lengthy. They said it takes about a half hour from the very beginning when you walk in and make application to the point at which you receive an ID. But again, with a lot of volume, it's been difficult for them to take care of people on the same day. Also, they've tried to set up mobile sites, and that's been successful in terms of putting them out in the community where it's close to the folks that would be interested. However, there are some limitations with that. One of them being that the camera that they have doesn't respond well to the natural sunlight, so they actually need to only have locations that are indoor, that are interior, and that makes it a little easier.
Wow, that is great numbers.
Yeah. So to break it down demographically, about 268 of the IDs are participants that are 13 to 18. So you have to be at least 13. And so about 2% of the IDs issued is in that age group. And that's understandable because younger folks don't tend to need as many services or aren't in a position where they need to produce an ID for as many things. And then seniors are the next highest. This is for people 65 or older, and they're about 10% of the program. So it's been about 1,300 IDs that were issued to them. And of course, as you would expect, the vast majority have been to participants between 18 and 64, and that number is 10,870 IDs, and that's about 87%. And again, that's what you would expect, but just breaking it down demographically, you can see, there are some youth that are hearing about it, and I think actually the 10% senior representation of applicants is pretty strong. So overall, I think it's been going great. I know that the folks with municipal ID are very happy with what they've seen so far. And one of the things that they've done is this is what they've called phase one, and they've had an opportunity to learn a lot about this process because it is a brand new program. And so what they're trying to do is get the budget increased in fiscal year 21, so they have the opportunity to do even more in terms of the mobile sites especially.
That's awesome that they're bringing it to the community so nobody has to really travel unexpectedly or excessively if not needed. So what drew you to this story?
Well, I'm very interested in city government, and when people say that they're interested in city government, a lot of times it's politics or legislation. What are they doing in city council? But I'm interested in city government on a level that's more basic and I guess has a more direct impact on people's lives. So city services and how they're delivered and what's out there for people is very important to me. So that's why I was interested in this story. And the municipal ID program is also brand new, which is another thing that attracted me to it. And there's one other factor, and that is that I didn't see a lot of coverage. I think the print media did a better job covering this new program, but in terms of electronic media, there really wasn't a lot out there, at least not much that I was aware of. And PhillyCAM being electronic media, I thought it was a great opportunity for us to use our unique position in the community to get this message out there, to help not only the city of Philadelphia spread the word, but to be helping the people in the communities that might not know about it, or they might have reservations about it, that this story might have dispelled some of those in terms of giving them a little bit more information. So those were some of the things that, I really thought were great. And it's what's unique about PhillyCAM, to be perfectly honest, is that we do tend to talk about things that we know are close to the community that might get overlooked by commercial media.
Okay. Well, as you can see, as he stated, we are an outlet for that information. So make sure you go to Roku And make sure you go to YouTube and share it with your friends who might need some more information. So when you were preparing for this story, we'll just give you a little insight. Since we have the reporters in the room, what was it like? What were some of the things that you had to do just to kind of give our viewers some insight?
Well, you have to do some research. So I had to contact the City of Philadelphia and get information in terms of what the program was and what all the details were, when they were going to launch it, how it was going to work, what was the process, what were they going to look for in the application process. So there was a lot of things that I had to get through the City of Philadelphia. And then I think, to be honest, one thing that was difficult about this story was it's not a very visual story. So, you know, again, our partners at PhillyCAM were great. So I had a camera person get, you know, what we call B-roll, which is, you know, shots of the office where PHL City ID is located. And, you know, a picture of the ID. The director of the program at the time was holding that up. So you could see the different components of the ID, the name, you know, your birth date, your gender, the expiration date, the unique number that's associated with your ID card. So we were able to show that. We were able to talk to a community activist who was someone who was trying to reassure people in the Hispanic community that it's okay to come forward, that the city is not looking to get all this information from you that could be used against you possibly at another time. All they want to do is give people empowerment in terms of having an ID that they can use to access city services. And they wanted to make very clear that you do need to bring in documentation. You have to prove who you are, that what you're saying you are is who you are, and that you actually have a residency in the city of Philadelphia. So once you establish that, and there's a varied amount of documents that can help you do that, once you establish that, the city only uses its electronic devices in order to authenticate the documents, to, you know, that they're not forged, that they're not totally made up, and also to make sure that they haven't expired, because we want you to be using current documentation, or at least that's what the city wants. So, so yeah, that was something that the machinery, that the electronic machinery absolutely needs to do. It needs to scan it, but those scans are not kept. The only thing that the city of Philadelphia keeps regarding your information is the name that you're somebody that received a card, the date that it was issued, you know, when you came in, you know, your birth date, and the expiration date of the card. So that's the only material, it's the only information that they keep related to you. And as far as the materials that you brought in, again, they have to be scanned for authentication purposes, but it's then deleted from the system. It's not kept. And I spoke to Maria Serna, who is a community activist. You saw her in the piece. And she's been trying to reassure people that, yes, you can trust the city. Yes, that they are interested in your best interests and, you know, not interested in trying to gain information for some nefarious. And she has an ID, and she, you know, has told many people that she knows that the process is okay, and it's not something to worry about. And I think that's important too, that the city has outreach folks that are trusted, and that they can say, look, we know about this program. We've been in it since the very beginning. We've been talking with the city of Philadelphia. We've seen the process. We were part of it. As a stakeholder, we were part of creating this process. So please don't be concerned. Just come in and get the ID, and it will help you in a variety of ways in your life. So I do want to mention, because this is something that when we were talking about issues that PHL City ID has had, they did mention to me that the ID program, they lost a member, Pedro Melicicio, who they described as, you know, very strong, charismatic, hardworking member of the community that also worked for municipal ID. And they lost him. And engagement and outreach, like I said, is very important. So it is unfortunate, but you know, there are still there's many other people within the office that, again, a lot of folks are bilingual. So you know, they try to, if you can speak with someone in the, you know, their language, okay, that you don't have to force them to speak in English. That's also been something that's been helpful. And then the other thing was the Municipal ID program received 11 outdoor event requests for mobile pop-up sites that would help approximately 2,000 plus participants. But again, because of the demand and the limited resources that the program has at this point, it's going to be tough to meet all those requests. But I believe that they're doing well at this time, and again, if they get increased budget, for fiscal year 21, it's going to give them even more flexibility to do more things.
Wow, that's amazing. So you might be able to call and say, hey, we have a large community here that would like to get this, and maybe you might be able to get a pop-up in that area.
Yeah, and that's something that you can always ask about, get more information about. And the city program will tell you, okay, well, here's what you need to do. Here's what the requirements will be, and here's how we need to work with you to set it up.
Awesome. As you can see, our reporters are thorough in their investigations. So have you heard anything where people are asking, I have a driver's license, why should I get it? What are the benefits of getting this ID?
Well, a driver's license helps you with a lot of things. So you already have a big leg up if you have that. There are a lot of folks that, due to immigration status or just a financial situation, or the fact that they don't drive, they don't have any need to drive because in their community they walk, to their schools, their stores, or they can't afford to have a vehicle. Personal vehicle is very expensive. So if you can't get a driver's license for those reasons, this gives you one other thing that you can use. And because it's issued by the city will recognize it in virtually every way, in terms of getting access to city buildings or being able to apply for city programs, for housing or jobs, as I mentioned in the piece, or other things. And I think those are good aspects to have this municipal ID above and beyond having a driver's license, which is fine to have also. And I think the other thing with this card is that it gives you benefits. It gives you discounts to museums, cultural institutions of that sort. And there are certain partners that the city has made with this program. Okay. And I want to see if I can just get them up real quick here. Yeah, so we're talking about the African American Museum of Philadelphia, the Free Library, the Kimmel Center, Mural Arts Program, Philadelphia Phillies, baseball, if you like baseball, Uber, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Woodmere Art Museum. So there's a lot of things that are out there that if you have this ID, it gives you special benefits that you wouldn't get otherwise.
Well, I thank you for all that information. There's the benefits. Thank you so much for your time, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda.
So where do I have to go to City Hall to get?
We have an update on a story we brought to you back in April. One way of achieving economic mobility is through higher education, but the cost can be daunting for some. Reporter Connie Combe explored programs in the public sector that will pay for that higher degree. This is the original report.
According to the Pew Charitable Trust, there are approximately 400,000 Philadelphians living below the poverty line. Census data reports that about 30% of poor Philadelphians work in jobs such as cashiers, personal care aides, and laborers. A way out of the situation is through education. State Senator Vincent Hughes introduced Senate Bill 111 to make education free and affordable.
So we came up with the whole idea of PA Promise, Senate Bill 111. And the first notion that it addresses is the whole notion, the idea of what's wrong with free college? What's wrong with a free education? And basically says if you are a student and your total family income is about $110,000 a year, that you would be able to get involved in a last dollar program. In other words, you get all the money from everywhere else you're supposed to get it from. You know, if you want a scholarship over here, if you traditional grant program, traditional loan programs over here, you get all of that, amass all of that, and then whatever is left will be free. So all of the publicly related colleges and universities in Pennsylvania will be covered in some fashion in the PA Promise program. And then we also do a thing on top of that for students who may want to go into the trades, who may go into apprenticeship programs or career and technical programs, CTE programs, that we provide financial support for them as well.
I sat down with Susan Bond, the executive director of the Delaware County Career Links. She described how Career Links funds education for the unemployed.
Each career link throughout the Commonwealth provides something called individual training accounts. And what that means is that people can come in, they need to follow a certain eligibility process, a suitability process, and they can apply for funding for certain training programs. In healthcare, manufacturing, transportation and logistics, technology, business, financial services, construction and infrastructure, retail, hospitality, and early childhood educations.
These programs are important because there is a correlation between income and education.
The statistic that's been around for a long time and I think has yet to be proven false, for every level of degree that you get, you're almost guaranteed about another $1 million in income on top of it. So you get high school, X. 4-year undergraduate degree, X plus $1 million. A master's degree or some kind of technical degree on top of that, another $1 million on top of that.
What I've done is gone back and taken a look at a few positions and say it's a healthcare. A home health care aide could be making $10.46 an hour, $10.47 an hour, and then if he or she goes into certified nursing assistant, it's $12, $13, $14, and then if they go into an LPN, it jumps into the 20s, and they can end up as a nurse practitioner making 6 figures a year. But we know if somebody, say, has been a desktop technician and they go in and they get a certification in the IT field, their first paycheck out of school can be significantly higher.
My work history journey has been a roller coaster ride. I started from making little to nothing, struggling to make ends meet, to doing really well for myself. It started from when CareerLink put me on to the School Network Learning Institute. It was that what gave me the advance I needed, because back when I was making little to nothing, I was getting discouraged. I wasn't feeling like I was going to ever do any better. You know, I think I had to take that leap of faith and to just let the 9 to 5 go for a little bit.
In terms of Senate Bill 111, here's what's being done to get it passed.
We're having in March of this year, I think it's March 27th is the date, we're having a big rally here in Harrisburg. Folks will be coming from all across Pennsylvania to the state capitol to talk about the whole notion of free college. We've got to re-level the playing field. We've got to take back this notion of success, that it's available to everybody and not just a handful of people who've got the money to make it work, right?
Here's how CareerLinks training can help those trying to break out of poverty.
The individual training accounts through the CareerLink are a fantastic opportunity to move yourself forward in a high priority occupation. The training programs are chosen because we think you'll get a job. Right here on the campus on April 10th, we're having a job and career fair here on the campus at 10 to 2 up in the STEM lobby. the big open lobby of the STEM building, typically it's 40 or so employers.
I want to say if you're out there in the work world, don't ever give up. If you feel like you're never gonna do any better, you're making not enough money to make ends meet, don't give up. Something good. If you put your mind to it, if you go out there and get the education that's required for the field that you're in, I want to say go for it. Take the time out to go for it. Take a leap of faith from the 9 to 5 and come back after with your newfound education. I think you will do a lot better within your career, and I think it will be well worth the wait.
From personal accounts and research, you can see education does affect income and can lift people out of poverty. This is Connie Com for PhillyCAM Voices.
Joining me in the studio is reporter Connie Com. Welcome.
Hi, how are you today, Amanda?
I am great. First, great story, so give us an update.
All right, well, this story, to me, it touches my heart. Now, there's, in terms of an update to the story, there's not a real update in terms of the bill part of the story, but there's an update in terms of the people involved in the story and the different programs. And I just want to say the reason I started this is I was a solutions journalism fellow. I got to be that, and the issue was ways out of poverty. So I know from what I've seen in my life and also as a substitute teacher that a way out of poverty, one of the main ways, is through education. I've had friends who, were marginal. They went and got certificates, and now they're making 6 figures, like in the IT field, for example. Okay, or, some people in the healthcare field as well. So that's one of the motivations for this story, because I see these young kids, they're in school, they're goofing around, they're not doing good on their grades, and then at some point it clicks in, I need to get to college, and their parents don't have the money to send them. So in the course of the story, what I did is I found a bill, it was Senate Bill 111, introduced by Senator Vincent Hughes. So what I wanted to do for my story was to interview him, because this bill was amazing. It said if a family makes $110,000 a year or less, the state would pay for their education. After the loans and grants and scholarship money, whatever was left, the state would pay. And if the family made $48,000 or less, they'd also pay for room and board. And this is not just for college, but also for certificate programs, apprenticeship programs, any kind of education, continuing education program, the state would pay. So I thought this was amazing. So I called his office because I wanted to do the interview. They said, oh, just email us. Just email us. And if we don't respond, just keep emailing. And I'm like, no, that's not working for me. So I have a friend, State Representative Harold James, former state rep. He knows everybody in Harrisburg. Mm-hmm. I called him. I said, hey, Harold, can you help me out here? I want to interview Senator Hughes. Can you hook me up? And sure enough, he did. Next thing you know, they're calling me. We went to Harrisburg. We did the interview.
Awesome. As you can see, our reporters are thorough and persistent. Thank you, Connie, for that update.
Yep.
All right, you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I can roll this, or there is no more.
Well, there are several schools have been closed due to asbestos cleanup. But that video you can actually check out on our YouTube and Roku channels. But that is all for tonight. Thank you for joining us.